Tonight, the violence wanes in Mexico, but thousands of Canadians remain stranded.
It really did look and feel like a war zone.
CBC News is on the ground in Puerto Vallarta, the city shut down.
We're all starving.
The killing of a cartel leader that plunged Mexico into chaos. New York City snowed in, tens of millions across the Northeast told to take shelter from a powerful blizzard.
It's probably about the worst I've seen.
It's taking aim in Atlantic Canada next. Newfoundland still buried under a meter of snow. And an interview with Ukraine's president 4 years into Russia's war.
I'm afraid that Ukraine will be alone.
His warning for the rest of the world in the breakdown.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. An eerie calm is hanging over Mexico tonight. Violence suddenly erupted yesterday near the popular tourist destination of Puerto Vallarta, following the killing of a powerful cartel leader. Burnt-out vehicles, damaged businesses, signs of clashes between the cartel and Mexican authorities. Some 26,000 Canadians are registered in Mexico. Most in Puerto Vallarta can't get home. Ottawa says it has no plans to evacuate them, but word late tonight, Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat will restart flights as early as Tuesday. While it is a much calmer scene now, there are fears the violence could start up again. Caroline Bargut shows us how Canadians are managing the unrest and the uncertainty.
Burnt-out cars line the street of Kathleen Lucas's neighborhood in Puerto Vallarta. Remnants of Sunday's violence, turning what is normally a tourist hotspot into a war zone.
We stayed inside all of yesterday.
Residents, including thousands of Canadians, ordered to stay inside after the Mexican army killed the head of the most powerful cartel. It retaliated, setting buses, cars, and businesses on fire. By Monday morning, Lucas says it felt calmer.
So once I heard other people were going for walks, then I felt safe enough to go myself.
A nearby grocery store reopened, but is letting just 7 people in at a time.
We're all starving, so we're just trying to find any crackers, anything that we can find. And more than anything else, we just want to make sure that we're safe.
Safe, but stranded. Many airlines are still not flying to Puerto Vallarta, though Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat say they will resume service on Tuesday. Ottawa says it will not send repatriation flights after assurances from Mexican authorities.
He indicated that the situation should stabilize in the coming days and that this was a targeted operation which will not continue.
Global Affairs Canada is urging Canadians to register online to receive alerts, updates, and travel information. Martin Kleiman has been trying to do that for 2 days, but the system keeps crashing.
I mean, it's a crisis, and they have a system that obviously can't, I would assume, can't handle the load. And so it's not good enough. I mean, it isn't good enough.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister insists the system is working, adding that 8,000 people registered in a 24-hour period, bringing the total to 26,000. Some Canadians say while things have calmed, they fear the violence will erupt again.
Puerto Vallarta was like an oasis of calm, and all of a sudden, maybe it isn't.
Some people who've been going to Mexico for years say they will continue to visit, while others say they plan to reconsider future travel plans.
So for Canadians in Mexico now, what else is the Canadian government telling them?
Well, Canadians are being told to consult Global Affairs Canada's website and look for any updates, but also follow any direction that they're given from local governments on the ground.
All right, that is Caroline Bargut in Vancouver. And we're learning more tonight about just how authorities tracked down the drug lord known as El Mencho. Paul Hunter explains how the military operation unfolded as the United States pushes for an even tougher cartel crackdown.
With evidence of the stunning violence on display wherever cartel members struck, from Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, the message was clear. The most important thing, she said, is to protect the entire population, and that's what was done yesterday, all day. Wanted by Mexico and the United States, it was the capture and death of Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, the fearsome cartel leader known as El Mencho that sparked the violence, a major trafficker of fentanyl and other drugs. When authorities targeted El Mencho, his cartel members went on an immediate rampage. Armed authorities now stand outside the morgue where El Mencho's body was taken after the shootout that left more than 70 dead, mostly soldiers and cartel members. Likewise, now outside the prosecutor offices that take on cartels. All of this as authorities reveal how they found El Mencho in the first place, by tracking a romantic partner. Meanwhile, Sheinbaum underlines
no hay participación en la operación.
All operations were carried out by Mexican forces, she said. No U.S. troops. But she added the U.S. did supply plenty of intel. U.S. President Donald Trump, who's been pressuring Mexico to do more to stop the flow of drugs north from that country, seemed to suggest he still wants more. Posting on social media, Mexico must step up efforts on cartels and drugs. The question, what will the cartels do now? Already on the minds of those still in Puerto Vallarta, with Sunday's violence still front of mind for all.
It really did look and feel like a war zone. And I think that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of what does happen next or what could happen next, is driving what a lot of people are feeling right now.
And fearing that the cartels will indeed do something. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Let's go now to CBC's Jorge Barrera, who is in Puerto Vallarta tonight. So, Jorge, what's it like there now?
Well, I'm standing in a Costco parking lot. There is a still smoldering transport truck that was set on fire during the violence on Sunday. There's another one in front of me, and all through this parking lot, there are burned out husks of vehicles, almost 24 of them. But as you roll through the city, it feels like a sleepy little town. There's almost nobody out. A lot of restaurants are just shut down, even though it's Monday. I'm told the only people who are wandering around are tourists. The locals are staying indoors. But as you get deeper into the city, you start noticing, oh, there's a burnt-out storefront, a clothing store, charred mannequins here, a burnt-out motorcycle shop, and then one after another, these corner stores have been set alight. And these are called OXXOs. And these OXXOs, about 70 of them were hit. And they tell us a little bit about possibly the motive behind this attack and the aftermath, the impact it will have, because these are not just normal corner stores, these OXXOs. People pay their bills, their gas, electricity, recharge their cell phones, do money transfers through them. So by attacking so many of them, you're impacting the wider economy. And these OXXOs also employ a lot of people. You got about 5 people per shift, and now they're all shut down. Some will have to be totally renovated. So these are people without jobs. Adrian?
And as you've been talking with people there, what are you hearing from them?
I ran into one man who lives in the state of Mexico, and he says, I came here for work and I want to go home. He's like, I know the state of Mexico has a bad reputation, but here, this is out of control, and I feel unsafe in this city right now. So he's trying to take off. I ran into a Canadian family at a hotel. They don't have a flight for another week, and they're like, we're going to stay here. We're going to roll with this. We're going to enjoy our vacation. But I ran into another Canadian who had his flight canceled, and he had to leave his hotel because it was running out of water and food, he said, and he's trying to find a new hotel to stay, and he's like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. My next flight is supposed to be March 12th, so he's trying to find his way around. So different stories for different Canadians who are in this city right now. Adrian?
All right, thank you. That is Jorge Barrera reporting from Puerto Vallarta. The work of El Mencho's cartel extends far beyond Mexico, with some of the drugs they sell making their way into Canada.
If you look at what we have here right now, this is a large load.
Coming up in about 20 minutes, why illicit drugs in Canada could soon become even more dangerous. Well, turning to other news, more than 40 million Americans are reeling tonight from a winter storm known as a bomb cyclone that is pounding the U.S. Northeast. Peter Cowan shows us why, for many, this storm feels like the worst in a very long time.
New Yorkers just aren't used to a blast of snow like this. An intense blizzard dropping 50 centimeters by midday.
It's probably about the worst I've seen.
After 45 years living here, Jonathan Chapman had to dig out like never before.
It's hard work. I've already done it several times already. This winter, it's getting a bit of a pain.
The snow wet and heavy, being whipped around by high winds, snapping trees. Schools in New York City closed for the first snow day in 7 years. Millions being warned to just stay home.
We are plowing streets and doing everything we can to keep our roadways clear so that emergency vehicles can get through.
More than 800 emergency shovelers hit the streets to try and keep up, as thousands of flights were canceled across the U.S., stranding travelers in airports like Newark.
We all got off the plane and then winded up sleeping here, so this is something I'll check off my bucket list.
It's not just New York. The storm is affecting more than 40 million Americans from Massachusetts to Delaware.
This storm has been a doozy, as predicted.
Massachusetts has seen hurricane-force winds.
Some are comparing it to the blizzard of '78. That's because of the quality of the snow, the amount of the snow, and also just the wind gusts, which are so significant.
On Rhode Island, this is officially the biggest snowstorm ever, with more than 80 centimeters dropped on Providence. Even the snowplows are no match for this storm.
You couldn't see the road, couldn't see the lanes. It was slippery. It's like an ice sheet out here. This truck has a problem staying on the road a little bit.
Crews are trying to get the roads and highways clear so line crews can start to restore power to the 500,000 homes and businesses left in the dark. Peter Cowan, CBC News, Montreal.
Now, that same high-impact storm is starting to be felt in Canada. Nova Scotia is under a yellow weather warning tonight. Flights were canceled today, schools closed, and snowfall of 25 centimeters or more was forecast. There is some light snow forecast for PEI. And it will eventually make its way to Newfoundland, which is already dealing with the aftermath of 2 powerful storms. Parts of the province are buried. Schools in St. John's forced to remain closed tomorrow. Laura Howell shows us how people are trying to cope.
I have no words. It's just I've never seen this much snow in my life.
St. John's pummeled with snow yet again, nearly 100 centimeters within a week. The result, people told to stay home. Some don't have a choice.
Oh boy, it has gotten worse.
When Tosef Khan opened his apartment door, he saw this.
Our windows of the kitchen is buried. The whole door is buried, like we can't get out anyways.
This is the latest in a series of storms this winter. Parts of the province have seen more than 1.5 meters of snow this week. Emergency crews working hard to keep up.
We had stranded vehicles. We had wires down. We had reports of alarm bell structure fires. We had people trapped in houses.
Even helping deliver a baby when getting to hospital was no longer an option.
So I just said to the crew when they got back, how is it that during these storms is when the opportune times for deliveries always happen? It's never on a bright sunny day.
Well, it's pretty hard to see, but behind me is an entranceway to an elementary school, one of many things buried here today after yet another major storm.
Just blow in the snow, knock it down, blow the snow, knock it down, and repeat. That's it. I got a long day ahead of me.
Gary McRoberts is trying to clear a path.
It's a constant battle this year. It's an old-fashioned winter.
St. John's mayor says the city has a handle on snow removal and doesn't need to call a state of emergency.
With state of emergencies, it's not about volume of snow. It's not about the amount that's on the ground. It's about the circumstances that you're in.
But the city is asking Ottawa for permission to start dumping snow in the harbor, something that was banned years ago. Supporting that argument, more snow is on the way, setting the stage for St. John's to break a record for its snowiest month ever recorded. Laura Howell, CBC News, St. John's.
British police made another high-profile arrest today related to Jeffrey Epstein. Suspicion had been building for months around Lord Peter Mandelson, a former British ambassador and cabinet minister. Sasha Petrusik shows us what he now has in common with a disgraced former prince.
They came discreetly in the afternoon, a pair of plainclothes police officers escorting Peter Mandelson from home, driving him off in an unmarked car. The latest high-profile arrest in Britain, linking Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to Washington, to American sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The two men seen celebrating together in photos recently released among U.S. Justice Department files. It's a political scandal hounding the British Prime Minister.
And when people think about Keir Starmer and his premiership, they will see the arrest of Peter Mandelson as the defining moment.
And I am as angry as the public and any member of this House.
Keir Starmer is blamed for appointing him ambassador when he should have known that Mandelson was close to Epstein. The latest U.S. documents suggesting Mandelson shared British secrets with Epstein.
We've seen emails in which he leaked very market-sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein before the event in question had taken place.
If I knew then what I know now, he would never have been anywhere near government.
Just last week, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was also arrested over his ties with Epstein. Like the former prince, Mandelson is under investigation for misconduct in public office. Both men's stories sparking public outrage.
A sense of entitlement in these plutocrats, these elites, who exist among themselves and seem to live by different laws and conventions than other people.
Still, say some Britons, at least here, the accused are facing justice.
It's also quite shocking that nothing has unravelled in the States and that we're on the front end of all of this.
The UK fallout is just beginning. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
Representatives from the company behind ChatGPT are expected in Ottawa Tuesday after being summoned to discuss the Tumbler Ridge shooters account.
We have to hear from OpenAI on their protocols. We have to hear their safety protocols. We have to hear their escalation thresholds.
OpenAI says it banned Jesse Van Roetseler's account last June after it detected violent activity, but it did not meet their threshold to contact police. 8 people, including 6 children, were shot dead in the Northeast BC community earlier this month. The Premier is questioning why OpenAI didn't immediately come forward.
From the outside, it looks like OpenAI had the opportunity to prevent this tragedy, to prevent this horrific loss of life, to prevent there from being dead children in British Columbia.
OpenAI says it reached out to law enforcement after Van Roetseler's identity was made public, and it remains in contact with the RCMP. The U.S. president is threatening trading partners with even higher tariffs just as his latest round takes effect. Canada is largely exempt from the new global levy, but as Olivia Stefanovich explains, there is still plenty of uncertainty ahead.
After all the twists and turns of the trade war, a reprieve at least for coffee drinkers.
We see the market slowing down a little bit, going on a downturn a little bit, which is a good thing for consumers, really, at the end of the day.
Coffee roasters welcoming a tariff exemption issued in White House fine print as U.S. President Donald Trump vows to increase a global levy from 10 to 15% following a major loss at the U.S. Supreme Court. Posting on Truth Social Monday, any country that wants to play games will be met with a much higher tariff and worse.
Our position has not changed. The tariffs are unjust, and we stand by that. Thank you.
Most Canada-U.S. trade remains tariff-free, and Canadian officials are trying to convince Americans to keep it that way.
The walls are closing in, I believe, on President Trump right now, and he's feeling the pressure.
But sectoral tariffs punishing major industries from auto to forestry are still in place.
It's up to Mark Carney to explain why here we are almost a year into his term and he has failed to get the deal that he promised Canadians.
But it's not clear if agreements Trump already signed are going forward.
We want to have clarity from the United States.
The European Parliament postponed a vote for a second time on the European Union's trade deal with the U.S.
Ultimately, it actually seems like holding off was fine in the circumstances. Canada did continue to have preferential access to U.S. markets.
Giving Canadian officials more leverage, he says, in the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement review.
There's a deal to be had, but of course it has to be the right deal that looks after those sectoral tariffs also.
It's still unclear how last week's U.S. Supreme Court decision will affect CUSMA negotiations, but the talks are expected to be long and hard-fought. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Protests have resurfaced on university campuses in Iran as the U.S. builds up its military might in the region.
The consequences of any renewed aggression wouldn't remain confined to one country.
The push for calm as fears of escalation mount. How the takedown of a Mexican drug lord could impact drug trafficking inside Canada.
When these kind of seizures happen, there's people who have to pay for that.
The cross-border repercussions. And a risky improvisation. We're back in 2. You are looking at the largest aircraft carrier in the world. The USS Gerald Ford made its way to the Greek island of Crete en route to the Middle East. Another U.S. carrier is already in that region ahead of a potential strike on Iran. So that threat is not the only one facing the country. As senior international correspondent Margaret Evans shows us, students are leading a new wave of anti-government protests inside Iran, the first since a deadly crackdown last month.
Protests that Iran's governing clerics will have hoped were over, finding their way back to life on university campuses in Tehran. Many students dressed in black, a sign of mourning for thousands killed by regime forces in early January. Clashes between pro- and anti-government supporters broke out at some. But even on conservative campuses where women are heavily monitored, defiance was on clear display. The renewed protests add to the pressure Iran is already facing from the military buildup ordered by Donald Trump. The U.S. president has said he's considering both a limited strike and a wider attack with regime change in mind, depending on the next round of talks on Iran's nuclear and weapons programs.
I think there is no limited strike. An act of aggression would be regarded as an act of aggression, period.
Iran's deputy foreign minister appealed to UN nations to prevent further escalation.
The consequences of any renewed aggression wouldn't remain confined to one country.
That's a not so thinly veiled reminder that war with Iran could have surprises for the whole region, a fear shared by the EU's top foreign policy diplomat.
We don't need another war in this region. We already have a lot, so we have stressed the diplomatic way out of this.
If there is one, no one's embracing it so far, both the United States and Iran sticking to their red lines. They'll meet in Geneva on Thursday for a third round of negotiations. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Nearly 4 years after the invasion of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is sharing what he thinks it will take to end the war with Russia.
People are ready for any compromises in which they don't lose dignity.
Why, he says, allies need to stand by Ukraine. And how an attempt to capture Mexico's top drug lord has diverged into chaos.
They control mayors, they control some governors, they have the power to intimidate people.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next. Visitors are flocking to California's Yosemite National Park to catch this spectacular sight. When the setting sun hits Horsetail Fall, an optical illusion makes the water look like molten lava. It only happens in mid to late February, and even then, you can only really see it on very clear nights. Back now to our top story. The killing of a powerful cartel leader in Mexico could have a ripple effect here in Canada. Thomas Daig explains how the power vacuum could affect the drug trade with potentially dangerous results.
Consider this a taste of what slain drug lord Mencho was smuggling into Canada.
They were prominent. I mean, if you look at what we have here right now, this is a large load.
A record-breaking cocaine bust last year in Toronto with more than 800 kilograms seized. Drugs that investigators linked to the infamous Jalisco New Generation cartel, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, or El Mencho for short, the ruthless kingpin killed on Sunday by Mexico's military.
I expect the impacts pretty much to be the same anywhere in the world, including the United States and Canada.
Police in Canada's biggest cities suspect the price of bulk cocaine could soar again, just as it did last month after the arrest of Ryan Wedding, a Canadian said to have done big business with the Sinaloa cartel. Montreal police reported cocaine prices jumped to $33,000 per kilogram before sliding back down to $21,000.
Any type of reduction in the capacity of transnational organized crime networks to be able to do their trade is important. Sometimes it's short-lived.
Police say when prices go up, it leads dealers to cut street cocaine with more dangerous and unpredictable substitutes, And for years, this crime analyst says it's likely El Mencho's cartel carried out killings in Canada, like after that cocaine bust in Toronto.
When these kind of seizures happen, there's people who have to pay for that. And usually payment is basically your life.
The killing of El Mencho came just a month after the arrest of Wedding. The two men's networks were said to have worked together at times to move drugs into Canada. But Wedding's lawyer insists his client didn't provide the information that helped lead authorities to the elusive cartel boss. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. 4 years after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, an assessment of the nation's spirits from its president.
I think that people are ready for any compromises in which they don't lose dignity and independence of country.
An interview with Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Kiev. But first, after the death of its leader in a military raid, a Mexican cartel demonstrates its power.
They seem to co-govern with certain local governments and even some state governments.
A look at him, his criminal enterprise, and the extent of its influence. Andrew Chang, host of About That, breaks down what makes the Jalisco New Generation cartel so different.
In Mexico, every column of black smoke was a warning.
Arson attacks and shootings have spread through several cities. Puerto Vallarta's international airport has been affected.
Over the weekend, the Mexican military attempted to capture one of Mexico's most wanted, the leader of arguably its most dangerous cartel, Jalisco New Generation. But instead of capturing the man known as El Mencho, they killed him.
7 members of the cartel died altogether. We understand as well that police officers and other members of the cartel were injured in this shootout.
So everywhere there were warnings, acts of loyalty and vengeance. Entire buses commandeered, then set on fire. Shops and schools shuttered, resort towns becoming ghost towns. Everything is shut down, a Canadian in Puerto Vallarta told CBC News. Gunfire, burning cars, confusion, and chaos. In Guadalajara, the international airport in disarray. Flights were canceled, travelers unsure where to go. And violence was widespread. Reportedly, hundreds of blockades across more than 20 Mexican states, all because of one operation turned deadly.
Fire, smoke, and chaos across several Mexican states.
Violence erupted across the country, closing airports, schools, and public transport.
How can so much of Mexico burn over one man? I'll show you. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, has spent the better part of the last 20 years building the criminal empire known today as Jalisco Nueva Generación. Jalisco New Generation, named after the Mexican state where they're based. Remember this map showing how widespread the retaliation has been for El Mencho's death? Well, it also hints at something else, which is how widespread this cartel's operations really are.
It's based out of the state of Jalisco, but it's got really tentacles throughout. Its presence extends to at least 15, possibly as many as 17, 18 states. They control mayors, they control some governors, they control a lot of functionaries and bureaucrats throughout. They have the power to intimidate people. They have all kinds of ears within the police forces. They have individuals that leak information to them.
Jalisco is everywhere and, in a way, everything. Drugs are its primary business. Methamphetamines, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl. But the cartel has also expanded heavily into what's known as huachicol, stealing oil.
Every day, 17,000 barrels of fuel are stolen in Mexico. Most is taken directly from the state oil company's pipelines, drilled into by criminal networks, large and small, throughout the country.
This is a known and increasingly significant source of income for an empire thought to have assets in the billions of dollars. Tapping pipelines and stealing and smuggling oil across national borders, that's a piece of that pie. And it's not just the wide base of criminal activity that sets Jalisco apart. This is a cartel also known for its criminal governance.
We're now talking about the fact that the cartel itself seems to have picked candidates for office finance their campaigns, and then now controls effectively many municipalities and many different places and territories within Mexico. So they seem to co-govern with certain local governments and even some state governments.
It's a mistake to think of Jalisco as simply a sophisticated gang. It's more an extremely violent, almost militarized conglomerate. It does not always operate in the shadows. It is sometimes unmasked. CJNG, Cartel Jalisco New Generation. They have branding, but also bulletproof vests, high-caliber guns, armored vehicles, and drones modified to drop explosives, to the point where the Mexican military has deliberately armed itself to stop them. And Jalisco is not only capable of fighting the Mexican state directly, it actively does.
Mexico's government claims the New Generation Cartel of Jalisco used rocket-propelled grenades last Friday to bring down this army helicopter, killing 6 soldiers.
The 2015 downing of a Mexican military helicopter was both deadly and incredibly brazen. It was a sign at the time of a relatively new cartel in Mexico quickly becoming one of its most dangerous. And that was more than 10 years ago.
Well, the downing of the helicopter is part of a wider communication of sorts. That is, we're going to demonstrate that we have the capacity to inflict significant cost on the government.
They have the capacity to really enter into a type of war with the Mexican government. You know, the capacity is so important.
Since then, and even before then, they've had nothing short of a meteoric rise.
There are well-documented examples of cartels like Jalisco handing out food and supplies to Mexicans during times of need. You see those initials again. This reads, "On behalf of your friends," from the CJNG. They often talk about bringing order to Mexico.
Well, so this plays to the criminal diversification, where the absence and the effective absence of the state. Now, I don't just mean police or the military. What I mean is there's the entire civil services and all the public services, education and healthcare that you would expect from the government aren't present. And so as a result, in the absence of the state, we've seen these groups come in and rival the state.
But Jalisco also relies on fear and the threat of violence. Consider this 2023 study examining how Jalisco operates more as a paramilitary government than a conventional cartel. We won't show them to you, but they mention videos distributed through social media that show decapitations and dead bodies displayed in public spaces.
They use a strategy that is not new to them or not new to the organized crime space, known as plata or plomo. Plata or plomo simply means silver or lead. You either cooperate or you die, or you at least face extreme violence, as gruesome as it is.
El Mencho was the head of Jalisco. This made him one of the most powerful and consequential criminals in the entire country. When Trump says the cartels, not the president, are running Mexico,
the cartels are running Mexico,
he's arguably talking about one cartel and the one man who runs it.
It's probably the most violent group, or right now, the most well-known and the most extended one, even more than the Sinaloa cartel.
There's a very good argument to be said that they rank number one. They are present in the vast majority of Mexico's 32 states. They have demonstrated a willingness to use extreme violence in a way that has now defined the Mexican organized crime landscape.
The head of Jalisco is now dead. Killed in a firefight, dead from his injuries while in the custody of the Mexican military. What we don't know is how much of the show of loyalty and defiance we've seen in Mexico since his death, how much that gives way to groups like Jalisco getting weaker or stronger.
Groups like the Sinaloa cartel and other cartels may see it as an opportunity to seize more power, to seize more resources, and seize trafficking routes, for example. What remains to be seen is the extent to which the CJNG struggles internally to see who is the replacement, because that is not yet clear, and of course the extent to which they bring the fight to other possible competitors.
Right now, both the Canadian and American governments list Jalisco as a terrorist group. U.S. intelligence calls it one of the most powerful and violent cartels in Mexico. El Mencho's death weakens it for now, but to exactly what extent and whether it reforms as something more dangerous is really anyone's guess.
Russia targets more of Ukraine's territory and energy infrastructure after ceasefire talks end without a breakthrough again.
Why is it so important to continue to help Ukraine?
Because Putin will not stop. We are stopping Putin now.
President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on his country's defiance and how Canada can still help. Next. As Russia's war in Ukraine enters a fifth year, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy talks about the conditions under which peace might be brokered.
We are ready for compromises. When it goes about compromises, not about ultimatums from Russia.
Céline Galipeau of Radio-Canada's Téléjournal spoke with Zelenskyy in Kyiv about the toll of the war on Ukrainians with peace still seemingly out of reach.
So the war has been going on for 4 years now. This winter is particularly harsh and your energy system has been under attack. Is this one of the most difficult times for your country these days?
The energy attacks, massive attacks by drones and cruise missiles and ballistic. You know that more than 500 drones were had during one attack, plus some dozens of missiles. This is the biggest challenge now, and we are sure that Putin doesn't want to stop. Of course, I will have communication with Americans and will try to push them to pressure on Putin to stop this war or try to show that he is stopping. Now he's showing opposite things. But
because it's a war that's really targeting the civilians, right?
Yeah,
the civilian
exactly,
populations.
exactly. You know, a lot of workers, dozens of them, hundreds of them, been killed during this winter or wounded, difficulty wounded. So tough attacks each night.
But despite all this, you are having talks with Russia and the United States. These are really difficult negotiations. There has been 3 rounds, and the Donbass remains really the main sticking point. The Russians insist that you cede the territory that you still control. You refuse to do that. Do you still trust this process? Because it's been going on for a year now.
We don't need to trust or not to trust. We just have to do our job. And our way how to negotiate is to speak. That was the proposition from Americans. You know, a better way if they will pressure on Putin to stop this war, and that's it. Yes, we are enemies, but we understand that without negotiations, without dialogue, nobody can stop this war. We want this war.
Who can stop it?
For today, United States tries, and I think President Trump can.
Do you think Donald Trump could do it?
I think politically, yes, because he's the president of the United States.
But are you going to make any compromise? What are you ready to do?
We are ready for compromises. When it goes about compromises, not about ultimatums from Russia. To withdraw without any kind of reasons, just to withdraw from our territory, our land, in our constitution, in the international law, our land, we control it. We control it. Just to withdraw, it's between us, it's bullshit, yeah? We really support the idea of compromise. But be honest, if we want to stop the war, let's stay where we stay, and then find compromises without weapon, by dialogue of politicians, by diplomats. This is my opinion.
But what are your citizens telling you? After this brutal winter, Russia's war gains last year, are they willing to accept some compromise just for this war to end?
I think that people are ready for any compromises in which they don't lose dignity and independence of country. You can ask about compromise, but you have to do it with a respect to this nation, to any part of our territory, but to the people first of all.
Does it worry you that Ukraine is maybe a bit fading in people's mind because now there are other conflicts, there is Iran, there is Groenland? What is your message for people in Canada? What's your message to them?
First of all, one message to the people who support us. Thank you very much in the world, in Canada. What can I say? If we can count on continuation, we will be thankful because the war is not yet end. Yeah, it's not finished. So this is important.
But why is it so important to continue to help Ukraine?
Because Putin will not stop. We are stopping Putin now. We have to recognize reality. Putin attacks us by missiles. His missiles already can go on 5,000 kilometers. In 3 years, Putin will have all the missiles 10,000 kilometers. Nobody is saved in the world. So if he can do it here, why he can't do it in other countries? Sometimes I speak with Americans and they don't believe that Putin can attack by their missiles any continent, including United States. Now he afraid of the United States. It's true, but it doesn't mean that he will always be afraid, and it doesn't mean that he will not do it.
You probably know that Canada's military industry is set for massive growth. Prime Minister Carney has announced more money for a military industry. Are you having discussions already with Canada?
All the respect to Prime Minister Carney, I like him, really. I mean, I had so many years relations with Prime Minister Trudeau, and we had very good relations with Canada. But Carney, we understood each other from the first day. So I'm very thankful to him understanding us.
Of course, Canada and other allied countries demand transparency regarding the aid granted to Ukraine. Some of your close associates have been arrested. They face charges of embezzlement. Some have been forced to resign. Have you finished cleaning up this mess, this corruption mess?
Look, you live in a war period. You will have a lot of challenges, and you will not finish today with it or tomorrow. The most important way that you have infrastructure fighting with such cases. That's it.
By the way, Donald Trump is asking you to have election, to hold election. Russia too. Are you going to have them?
I'm ready. They have to give us ceasefire for elections period.
A long ceasefire. 2 months?
Yeah, but how soldiers can go for elections if they don't give us? So how it can be?
Do you fear you can lose this war after all this?
No, of course, fear. Of course, I'm afraid that Ukraine will be alone. And it means that Ukraine will be difficult to survive. It's, what does it mean to lose? To lose, it means not to survive. Just to lose your sovereignty, independence, people, and everything. In the war period, we have to concentrate and focus on unity, and only such way can bring us to peace, not to lose Ukraine.
On the possibility of further peace talks, I'm reporting today from Reuters, it says that President Zelensky's chief of staff told Ukrainian media that another round could begin at the end of this week. Coming up, a Paralympic athlete turns his Team Canada kit into a wingsuit.
It looks good walking into the opening ceremonies. It looks really good jumping out of an airplane.
What? His daring jump next in our moment. This is Paralympian snowboarder Tyler Turner moments after he leapt out of a plane in his Milano Cortina 2026 opening ceremony kit. Turner also skydives, apparently in his off-season, and said one of the pieces in the kit reminded him of a wingsuit, so he put his new gear to the test, and now his Olympic-infused jump makes our moment.
It looks good walking into the opening ceremonies. It looks really good jumping out of an airplane. When I saw it, it was kind of like in my head, like, yeah, it's kind of is like a wingsuit. Just how convenient. I love wingsuiting. There's a lot of technology in wingsuits, but a lot of surface area is a great thing for creating forward movement in the sky. And it wasn't perfect, but it worked quite well. Oh my God, it worked so good. It was awesome. I got to do it. I think it would be so cool to have like a shot of that in the sky with like the maple leaf really well connected across the chest. So we'll work on that after we go and try and win some medals. It was really funny to see the comments on, especially like the initial release of the outfit. In the Lululemon reveal, I was wearing it. It's my face on there and a lot of people commenting about what it looks like. I just thought, more than having a negative opinion, I think we need to support Canadian athletes. I look forward to honing it a little bit and maybe perfecting it in the off season here.
Okay, these athletes are all just built different. And I just keep imagining, is his coach saying, good for you, could you wait till after the games before you throw yourself out of a plane? From all of us at the National, thank you for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.